I won a national championship in college. It was a really pivotal moment in my life because I was one of those kids that thought, oh, I'm going to play pro, I'll make it to the NBA. Then we won the championship, and I just had this sense of fulfillment. And I began to divorce my personality from basketball. And I realized, hey, you can do so much more than put a ball in the basket. Luckily, I had that epiphany because
Welcome to the Phase 4 podcast, inspired by Vishen Lakiani and Ajit Nawalkar, co-founders of EverCoach, a division of Vine Valley. In this podcast, we speak to coaches and creatives about where they were, where they are, and where they are going. This is the intersection of what we focus on expands, and your story is your superpower.
My guest today is Deion Wells-Ross. He helps high performers unlock their edge, and we're going to talk about things like AI, strength, performance, habits, and strategies, and we're going to talk some real talk. So, Deion, welcome to the podcast.
yeah, thanks for having me, JP. Super excited.
Yeah, I'm grateful too. I definitely think there's a lot of alignment and the energy that you have. I don't really meet too many people that have that same energy, so this is going to be fun. But I always kind of just begin with, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you kind of ended up in this space.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for that compliment. I like to think my energy is contagious, but you never know until you meet someone. So I have a really, I'll say, interesting story going back quite a few years. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, born and raised here. I was a college athlete, and I'll just say life has kind of dropped some bombs on me. My big claim of fame, if I have one, is I won a national championship in college. So, won the Division III national championship. I promise I'm not making that up. Look up Nebraska Wesleyan. You can fact check me. But from there, it was a really pivotal moment in my life because I was one of those kids that thought, oh, I'm gonna play pro, I'll make it to the NBA. Then we won the championship, and I just had this sense of fulfillment. And I began to divorce my personality from basketball. And I realized, hey, you can do so much more than put a ball in the basket. Luckily, I had that epiphany because years after that, I didn't know it or I couldn't have scripted it this way, but I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So that was one of those things where life really dropped a bomb on me. And I had to make a choice. So at the time of this recording, I have a permanent disability. The left side of my body doesn't work like it should or how it used to, especially being a college athlete. And it sounds crazy, but being diagnosed with MS was the best thing that ever happened to me because I looked at it as, all right, life sucks. I have a disability. This could be my exit to life, and like I just give up and take it easy and chill and coast. Or it could be the entrance to my potential. And that's what really pushed me to the edge of my potential. Now it's almost like I don't have anything to lose. So I'm sprinting towards like my best or the highest level of performance.
Man, that is so inspiring. I got goosebumps everywhere listening to you. And this tagline here is what we focus on expands, and your story is your superpower. And so you're turning your story into your superpower instead of just focusing and expanding on the negative, which is so easy to do. No one would even blame you. But man, it's so inspiring. Do you know who Inky Johnson is?
I do.
Yeah. I think about the motivational speeches he gives and when he talks, and I get those same goosebumps that you're giving me right now.
No, thanks. It's funny. So I wrote a book. It's called Adversity is the Way. I haven't released it yet. We can talk about that more. I'm doing something else instead. But I actually featured Inky in this book, one of his quotes. And very much so, he's like the textbook example of someone experienced adversity. In the moment, it sucked. He thought he was going to the NFL, which he would have. And then the unfortunate happened. Life dropped a bomb. And like I said, in the moment, it was terrible. But now in hindsight, it's like, it makes sense. He had a bigger calling than Sunday night. So
Yeah. And do you have an MBA or you're studying for an MBA while you're going through this?
I have my MBA. I finished it in 2022.
Good for you, man. And so now you're motivating the masses. And I preface this by saying, we'll tell everyone, we'll share the links, but go check out his Instagram and just even the last 7 or 8 messages. They're almost master classes. You could take each one of those and open it up even further into a chapter for a book.
Thank you. JP's trying to hype me up, but I'm a content creator, and I think that's like a really good segue into strengths and how to use those to get to your full potential. And 2020 is when I really went deep into self-discovery. We all kind of had more time than we knew what to do with. So I leaned into my strengths and found out I'm actually really creative. And I'll even back up further. At this time, like 2018, we won the championship. From 2018 to 2020, I had like this massive identity crisis. It's like, who am I? I'm no longer playing basketball, so I didn't really think about it. And that's what kind of sparked the content creation.
That's amazing. So your creativity was always there. You forgot about it. But before we go forward, I want to jump into that part right there with about losing your identity, right? And I hear Michael Phelps. He said the lowest, Michael Phelps, a swimmer, the lowest he was ever after winning gold medal. He didn't know who he was. His whole life, you train for this, you do this thing, and everyone around you is telling you how awesome you are. And then you do it, and now what? And so that's enter your identity crisis. I've been there too. And I know the feeling. That's why I want to dig into it, because I think there's some lessons in there as far as pain, as far as rebirth, renewal, and also as far as getting to create the future, because you have to. You now have to recreate everything. And then what does that kind of look like? And that will also help with strengths and peak performance.
Absolutely. I love how you framed it. And I think Michael Phelps is like a really good example of he trained so hard for so long. He hit the pinnacle more than once, all the gold medals he won. And it's like, wow, what do I do now? And as you said, JP, we've all kind of been there. That's why I always tell people to start with the end in mind. And I have this slogan, get to the edge of your potential. The reality is that edge should never end because you'll always be thinking like, what's next? I hit this milestone. So the edge of your potential is going to be something you chase until you're dead. As morbid as that like sounds. And I had to realize like basketball was great. I won as big as possible in college. What's next? And it took for me to be diagnosed with MS for that like epiphany to spark in my mind. I hope you don't have to go through something like super substantial for that like spark to click in your mind. But if you're going through like that identity crisis, or maybe it's just you want to do a 180 in your life, think about the impact you want to make long term and then work your way back.
Cool. Are we talking ends goals and means goals? I think sometimes, like, okay, the girl says, I need to get a job. I need to get a second job. And the question is why? And well, I need to get a second job because I have to help pay for my mom, because I'm moving my mom into my apartment so she can be close to my grandkids. And it's like, so you don't really actually want or need that job. Your actual dream is that you can get your mom into your apartment. And so then can we find another way to get there? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But you're saying to start with the end goal in mind. Are you saying it that way? Or are you saying it more like reverse engineer it? Okay, this is where I want to be. What do I have to do to get there?
Both, both. So I think when I say the end in mind, think of what you want your legacy to be. Like if you could fast forward 20 years and you were on your deathbed, what would be the story you want told? How do you want to write your story? So not, oh, I want to have this house or I want to have this amount of money. That stuff can be motivating, but your legacy is what's going to sustain you. So once you are clear on like the legacy you want, reverse engineer that. What's the first step in that in the right direction? A book that a lot of people have read is Atomic Habits, James
James
Clear.
Clear.
Yeah, love that book. But one of the things he talked about in that book, and I can't forget it, is become the person. Who is the person that can be that whatever you want, the legacy you want? It's funny. So earlier this year, I told myself long term I want to be the founder of a startup, CEO and founder. Sorry, this gnat is like bugging me. You probably can't see it on camera. So you're like, what is this dude swinging at? This gnat is like trying to get me. But anyways, I set a goal of becoming a founder. Eventually there was no like smart goals, timeline, measurable progress. And then over the last few months, I've been working with AI. Sounds crazy, but AI is the co-founder of my business. And I said, hey, what are the characteristics of a good quality CEO of a startup? And then I'm like, I checked that box. I checked this box. I can do that. I, and I was like, wow, the math just makes sense. I'm there. I just have to make the leap. So here we are.
Wow, that's powerful. So there's a lot. As I was preparing for this, I was bringing up a James Clear quote more because of peak performance. Earlier, the intuitive hit I got about asking you about Inky Johnson, that's just crazy. But then the James Clear one, uh, the reason I was thinking of him, I brought up this quote is he has one in his book. It says, we don't rise to the level of our systems. We fall, what is it? We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. So if we don't have systems and structure in order to do that, but there's a book about peak performance that if you're not familiar with, you're going to enjoy by Stephen Kotler. It's called The Art of Impossible. Now, he talks about almost the same quote in there, but it's from ancient Greece or something like that, Archelaus, and it's we don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training. So James Clear's kind of twisted it to systems, but it's the same idea. Like if you don't practice for the thing, then it's almost like the very beginning of goals and crushing goals. You have this motivation, and then you go and you start doing the thing. But the motivation just gets you started. Habits
Yeah.
is what keeps you going, as Jim Rohn would say.
No, you are spot on. What was the name of that book?
The Art of Impossible. I think the sub part is it's a peak performance primer, and he just talks about he brings in all the science and everything about it. He has something, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he has something called the Flow Genome Project. And this guy's been studying flow forever. He used to be a journalist in like Florida, but he was on the front edge somehow, like him and his buddies of like snowboarding, skate, all this exports. When it was first happening, he was just with them, and he was just like a young guy who just happened to be a journalist, but also got to have a front row seat to like people defying physics.
Ah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I really like that title. I just it's on my website actually, but this saying I came up with is impossible is a state of mind. Meaning, in your mind, something may be impossible, but if you step or if you get out of that mindset, it's like the sky is the limit. And I totally agree. Like you just need the system to get you there.
That's beautiful. So I would even add to that, it's just a tiny little shift, right? The word impossible, if you take the first two letters and make a bit of a shift, it says, I am possible.
Mm, that's
And so,
powerful.
yeah, it's great, right? So all this stuff is so inspiring. What you're doing is so inspiring. And so, what about AI as far as helping people to peak perform? Do you use that, or maybe I should just let you talk more about what you do?
Yes, absolutely. It gets me super excited because I love AI so much. I want to start by killing some myths. A lot of time people are like, "Oh, AI is evil. It's going to replace humanity." That's not true. It's actually a great tool to help you. So the first thing is the fear. People believe that AI, what it does, if you ask it a question, it will scan the World Wide Web and then bring that back to your conversation. It's a one-way street, meaning it can't spread your information across the web. It can only scan the web and bring you information. So it is actually really safe and secure. The other part of it is people think that AI is going to harm how humans think. Not true. It's actually garbage in, garbage out. I use ChatGPT every single day. And if you ask it great questions, if you have a thought-provoking or quality idea, it's just going to improve. So it's going to help you grow and develop. So just wanted to be crystal clear on that. But in my business, we are using AI differently than anyone I know of. Most people say, "Oh yeah, I use AI. It helps me write emails or automate tasks." That's like level one, right? That next level is the developmental phase. What I mean by that, so we use what's called the via character strengths in our business to help people really understand themselves. If you ask AI or if you say, "Hey, these are my top 5 strengths," what does that tell you about me? It's going to give you so many insights into who you are. Going deeper, if you say, "Hey, I have this goal. How can I use my strengths or my natural?" We built this assessment called the innate performance driver. It's all about your work style. It's free on our website. But if you say, "This is my work style, these are my strengths, how do they work together? How can I get to the edge of my potential?" Or whatever the goal is. I saw you, I came off mute, so I won't be too long-winded.
No, no, I just was gonna jump in with the VIA character strength survey from Martin Seligman. You can go to a website, AuthenticHappiness.org. It's a University of Pennsylvania website. You fill out this 240 questions, it will give you your top 5 strengths. And then the goal is to start looking around your life for it. And you'll see where they pop up. And what happens once you start to notice these, because you can't not notice them,
Yeah.
it helps you get aligned and it helps you move in the right direction because that's where you're supposed to go. That's the type of person you are. But it sounds like you're taking that to even another level with and having that conversation with chat and saying like, "Hey, these are my strengths. How can I use them?"
hmm Spot on. And that's why our thing is the inner advantage. What's going to make you great or help you get to that next level is what's inside of you. It's not some magic potion or secret formula. It's your strengths. And I'll just kind of put an exclamation point on what you said, JP. My number one strength via character is humor. Had no idea that that's a strength, but I'm a facilitator. I'm a keynote speaker. As I started thinking about it, I'm like, what makes me great is I make people laugh. Or JP, you talked about like that energy. Like people feed off of my energy and find me funny. If you talk to my wife, she wouldn't say I'm funny, but she's just a hater. But my strengths like appear in everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think mine is zest is one of mine.
Mm,
Obviously, like contribution or whatever that one is, hope. Yeah, it's a really good survey. I use it all the time. Like it's probably one of the first tools I'll give somebody because it gives them a clear idea on who they are.
for
And
sure.
if you mix that, if you know the PERMA model with that and you mix the two of them together, positive emotion, engagement, relationship, meaning, achievement. So you get your 5 strengths and then you bring in the PERMA model and see where that's happening in your life. And I think now, like I'm in my head when I'm talking about this, I'm thinking about buffering against like depression, anxiety, all this stuff
Mhm.
that sometimes we feel that way, right? It's okay, but you got to lean into those when that happens. And it's almost like it turns it down a little.
Totally agree. And I don't know, it's kind of like that cheat code to life. So you are spot on.
Thank you. So tell me more about your website. This sounds intriguing. You've got a couple tools and tell us some more.
Yeah, yeah. So I this is like hot off the press. I haven't even talked about it because I'm not done. I mentioned my book earlier. The reason I didn't release it is because I've been thinking about what if books didn't exist? What would be that next level of development? And I'm starting this new category called educational reality. So instead of just me talking, teaching the inner advantage framework or the adversity equation, some of my proprietary frameworks, taking it to that next level. So after a talk, I give people access to a digital course with a workbook and fillable, I'll say, like AI prompts. Hey, how would you respond in this based on your strengths? How can you use them to overcome adversity? So it's like a real experience to help people get to that next level. On our website, that's exactly what you'll see. We do offer two free, I'll say, opportunities. One is the innate performance driver assessment. Takes 10 minutes, if that. It's really about what's your work style. It's funny. So my work styles are a strategic architect and a innovative disruptor. Knowing that helped me understand why I have such a difficult time with corporate America. I don't like the status quo. I don't like being boxed in. I really don't like following rules, right? And my work style helped me understand that. And then you mesh it with my strengths. That's what takes me to the next level. Last thing I'll say, JP, a lot of times people are like, "Ooh, should I try AI?" They don't really know how to use it. On my website, intodynamics.com, there's a free AI-based training. You just input your information, you'll be enrolled in the course, and you can kind of experiment with it. This is my IPD, innate performance driver. It's free again. And then you start plugging and playing. Hey, set up your chat GPT. What do you know about me? How can I be more successful, etc.
I love it. So I'm always learning. I think that's part of peak performance. So I'm taking this like communication, writing, leadership kind of course, and it's through a college. And I was super, super surprised that at the very beginning they encouraged us to use ChatGPT. I would have just automatically figured no way. But coming out and reading some of the ways other people use it, it was just fascinating because first of all, you're talking like how some people are just afraid of it, right? And it's scary technology, the end of the world. But I'm listening to that going, yeah, that's right. I remember when it first came out, a lot of people were like that. And I jumped right away and started using it. And
Mhm.
some of my colleagues, I jumped over them that were ahead of me. And but seeing the way that this will work, you could tell your ChatGPT 4 or 5 ingredients in your kitchen and it will come up with a recipe, dessert, and everything. And that's just one idea. But
Absolutely.
if you need a counselor, if you need an auto mechanic, if you need a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, you can get all this kind of information. But it sounds the way you've set it up and compiled, what do they call their own little GPTs? That it's gonna help. So the night, what is it? Night driver,
The innate performance driver.
innate performance driver. And what was the assessment?
It's the innate performance driver assessment.
Oh, sorry. Okay, cool. So I guess a question is, where do you see it going in the future, maybe?
That's a phenomenal question. Maybe we'll expand. It's an assessment I built on my own. It's funny, it's one of those things where I talk about getting to the edge of my potential. And AI literally asked me, "What do you think about making your own assessment?" And I'm like, "Bro, do you really think I can make my own assessment?" And then it went on and gave me all these reasons about why I can. And it wasn't based off of some theoretical lens. It's like, look at all the stuff you've done. You have the drive, you execute, you can do this. And then I'm like, what are the first steps? And it helped me like get started. And I built this assessment, right? So the future, I don't really know. We'll see. AI is incredible, but I'm thinking about like augmented reality. Virtual reality might be a little too futuristic where like people are putting on goggles and stuff, but augmented, I can kind of get behind that. So we'll see.
Cool. So earlier you mentioned about people regretting things, and just one of them is not even trying. And of course, I just sent my buddy a message yesterday about the 5 regrets of dying people. So I just want to read them out. I wish I had the courage. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expect. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I stayed in touch with my friends, and I wish I let myself be happier. And so, wherever we're at now in our life, we don't really need to agree or disagree with that. All we need to do is look at it. And these are, a lady went and started asking a bunch of dying people, what are your regrets? And these were the top 5. So, I think you kind of said some of it, right? Like you could have took your situation and just nobody would even blame you if you just kind of hid away, got depressed, and didn't do anything. But you decide, no, I want to be happy. I want to express my feelings and be courageous. I want to live true to myself, and I'm going to do my thing. So I think your story is definitely your superpower. And it's funny that you mentioned like ChatGPT reminded you of all the evidence you already have. And I think sometimes as humans we skip over it because we're always looking at the next thing instead of like, you know what? I've been pretty good. Like you said at 2020, you had lots of time to think. We all did.
Yeah.
And so like if everybody listening to this just go back and look at the growth in the last 5 years, we all have the evidence. So
Mm.
I guess I kind of ask everyone this question. This is the Phase 4 podcast and Phase 4 in the 6 phase meditation by Vishen Lakhiani. It's all about creating your future 3 years out. So where is Deion Wells Ross 3 years from today?
Yeah, I love that question. You're pushing one of my hot buttons, the future. My second strength is hope, by the way. So I have this like orientation towards the future, but I'm going to be the founder of Into Dynamics, CEO and founder, and I'm going to be way above my current weight class. You'll be able to play this back and say, man, this dude is exactly where he said he'll be. So you mentioned like Inky Johnson or I don't know, E.T. the hip hop preacher, Tony Robbins, Gary V, any of them. That's where I'm aiming at. So
Yeah, I love it. And I could see it, man. I just started looking at it thinking, I'm like, man, this guy has it. There's a lot of people want it, but you have it. Some people don't.
oh man,
That,
thank you.
yeah, that's great. I think maybe we should just list some of these categories because the VIA character strengths, it's crazy. I, like I told you, this is over 200 episodes, and I've never had one person tell me about I tell other people about it. So just the categories, and then they get subcategories, but wisdom, courage, humanity, justice, temperance, and transcendence. And then you got things like gratitude, hope, humor, spirituality, humility, prudence, fairness, leadership, social intelligence, honesty, zest, love of learning, judgment, curiosity. And so everybody has these. I think Plato, thousands of years ago, came up with virtues and the idea of virtues. And then Martin Seligman brought it into the new millennium.
Absolutely. And driving this home, the thing I love about the Via character strengths, it's actually a research-based assessment, meaning they conducted tons of studies and surveys. They aren't just making this up. On the other side, there are what are called theory-based assessments. I don't want to kick dirt on any of them. You've probably taken like some of these personality assessments. Those are all rooted in theory. This is what I think. Let me go do the research and find what supports this. If you've been to college or if you wrote a paper, you find research that supports what you're trying to prove. They reversed the order. They said, hey, let's do the study, let's do the research. and this is what let's see what we find.
Yeah, no, for sure. Some of those quizzes and tests, they put you in a box and then you jump in the box and you tell everyone, hey, I'm an INJF or whatever, right? But like
Yeah.
this one, I don't know if you know the story behind it, where Seligman, so like all the way through psychology, we were just trying to give really sick people help. But nobody ever asked, what if somebody's okay? How can we make that person thrive? And so the guy, Martin Seligman, he was the president of the American Psychiatric Association, and he came up with this idea in 1998. Hey, let's make people flourish. And yeah, like you said, this is why it's so powerful. I never said that part, is the amount of research and studies. And every person I've ever given this to, over 100 people for sure, they all come back and said, oh my God, that's exactly me. And it's like,
Yeah,
it's same again, like you had those evidence, and then you just needed someone to kind of point you, hey, you already have the evidence of checking those boxes, and like that's it. Sometimes we just don't see it, but I digress. I think as we begin to wind down, if this episode resonates with you, please like, subscribe, share, and reach out to Deion. When's the book coming out? Because I don't know, we'll get the notes in there for the book, but this episode won't air for a little bit still.
yeah. I probably won't release a standalone book, more so a program that has the book, it has the digital course and a workbook that's fillable, and some AI prompts in there. So
It's beautiful. And so you also your keynote speaker, motivational speaker, inspirational speaker. So anyone listening to this, if you resonate with this story and you're looking for a speaker, here we go.
absolutely.
It's something that's close to my heart. I gave my first motivational speech about 6 months ago, and I'm just hooked. Like seeing people light up, right? From you sharing your story with them and knowing that like that pain can be turned into such a purpose that touches others and affects others. And man, you're inspiring other people. Like that's the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. I was just writing working on the workflows of my business. One of my emails was exactly what you just said, JP. Like going or being diagnosed with MS was never about me. It's more so about who can I impact and help along the way. So
Wow. And so how are you? Are you in pain, or how does that affect everything else?
yeah, so they call MS the snowflake disease because it impacts everyone differently. I don't live a life of pain, fortunately. Just have a disability. So like the left side of my body just doesn't move or work how it used to. Like can't even do this with my toes on my left foot. So, MS, it's an autoimmune disease. My brain or my immune system attacked itself on the left side. So it's kind of like imagine if your phone charger had a short. Like on the right side, it gets through, everything works. On the left side, it's like shorted out and like the signal just does not get through.
That's unfortunate, but it's like I'm so happy you're making it into a superpower. Martin Luther King Jr. has a quote. It says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And I know last Friday was April 4th, the day that Dr. King got shot down in Memphis. But I wonder, what do you think about that quote?
I absolutely love this quote because humanity, we are hardwired to think, what about me? What about me? Have you ever heard of the book that is called The Go Giver? Oh, I can't remember the
It's good.
author, but it's really about the more you give, the more you receive. You don't give to receive, but really it's about the impact, the legacy you want to leave. And that's why I always say, start with the end in mind. When you're on your deathbed, what do you want your legacy to be? People always have regrets. People never talk about how fulfilled they were by giving. And I mean, I would imagine people would say, I wish I would have given more or helped more people or spent more time with my family, my friends, my kids. I wish I would have worked less, as saying that indirectly. So, absolutely love that quote.
Yeah, I agree. I used to be in chronic pain and it was always I, me, my, why me? I would say it out loud, why me? And the second that I switch it to like you, they, them, how can I help others? How can I serve others? How can I do something important or significant instead of just crying all the time? Everything changed. And it's just, again, it's probably why the tagline of this is what we focus on expands, because it's really just a decision.
Absolutely. I have to read something. I met with someone this morning. First time we connected. I journal every single day. One thing he said was the wrong story generates the wrong results. The wrong story generates the wrong results. And it sounds like, JP, you just switched your story. You could have said, oh, why me? I'm in pain. This sucks, which it does. But when you start telling yourself a different story about the same thing, everything changed, right? So think about the story you are telling yourself. Can you flip it and make it, I'll say, more productive?
100%, man. That's why your story is your superpower. There's a couple quotes. Oh, man. Okay, this episode's full of good quotes, but one is it's from a book called Paradise Lost, and he said the mind is its own place, and in itself can create a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven. And that resonates so much with me because I've done it both. I made it up painfully and then I made it up beautifully. And so I can see both of those. And then Albert Einstein also, he says, what is it, Albert Einstein one? That's okay.
No, that's great. And for your listeners, I hope they get a ton of nuggets from this. Like, just the conversation is so organic. Just so everyone knows, this is not like scripted. We literally don't have a script. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. The Inky Johnson thing blows my mind because just that's an intuitive, like, I'm like, I'm gonna ask him if he knows Inky Johnson. Your story, I guess, probably is similar to him. That's why, but man, it's so powerful. So I guess as we begin to wind down, do you have anything that you want to leave? Okay, this is what I always let the guests take it away. Like, if you have something to sell, sell it. If you have a message of hope or inspiration, or if you want to mix it all together, kind of just take it away.
Yeah, thanks for that. I always go towards leaving a final, I'll say, note of inspiration or something that can help you with, or something that can help you. It's something I've already said before, but know that impossible is a state of mind. Don't be afraid to take that risk or to take a moonshot. Going back to 2015, I quit a basketball team. I had a coach that told me, you suck. I don't know why you're on this team. You aren't good enough for my program. And I took a massive risk. I went against everything every person told me. They said, stick it out, just survive and finish the year. I took my life into my own hands and said, no, enough is enough. I'm betting on myself. 2 years later, led a team to a national championship. So, um, I said all that to leave you with take the moonshot, get to the edge of your potential. Don't allow other people to place their limits on you. I really think we're all unique. We're all powerful. And if you can, invest in knowing your strengths because that's going to help you get to that next level.
Wow, I don't know how to say anything after that. That's perfect. I think I'll just ask my last question is how can people reach you?
Yeah, I'm super active on Instagram and LinkedIn. Just Deion Welsh Ross. You can see my name down here. Um, Beyond that, I don't know if you can submit a form on my website. I'm around, so I'm really easy to get a hold of.
All right, Dion, this is so good. I'm so grateful for you, for your time, for your message. And I really can't wait 3 years from now to see what happens. So thank you so much for this conversation.
No, thank you, and hopefully, 3 years from now, I can come back and we can talk about. You remember when you said